And good evening, everyone. Welcome to yoga class. Today's class is a class for low back and hamstrings. And for today's class, if you have it, you'll need two blocks, a strap, and a couple blankets. Yes, preferably two. It's okay if you only have one. If you don't have a blanket, you can take a towel and you can roll it up and use that. That's totally fine. If you don't have blocks, don't worry about it. You can always use a chair or you can just use the mat. If you need a strap and you don't have one available, you may want to use a necktie. That always works well, or simply a belt. Totally fine. For today's class, while I'm teaching you, I'll be mirroring you. That means when I say move your right hand, I'll be moving my left hand and so forth. So just know that I'll be in opposition to you. That's called a mirror. And for today's class, we'll actually be talking about impermanence and the interconnectedness of things. And by impermanence, I simply mean nothing lasts forever. By interconnectedness, I mean everything is connected. We are all connected one to the other. For today's class, as you come to a good seated position, sit yourself well, cross one shin in front of the other. Yes, there you go. Open your sitting bones up, take your inner thighs in and down, fingertips next to your hips, lift your collarbones, press your fingertips into the mat, grow long through the side body, tone your belly. Maybe lengthen your tailbone if you find you're tucking your pelvis and making a C shape with your lower back. Shift your hips forward so that your groin is in contact with the mat. If that is difficult for you, you can always sit up on a blanket. So I like to sit on a blanket and then slide my sitting bones, the front of my sitting bones, off the edge of the blanket. It lifts the back of my sitting bones and lets my groins come in better contact with the mat. When you've got all of that, sit well. Take your shoulders up towards your ears, back towards the back of the room, broaden them. Good, you're doing great. You can lift through the crown of the head, tilt your chin, close your eyes or soften your gaze. And please listen to these words from the Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama speaks today about coronavirus. And here's what he has to say. Sometimes friends ask me to help with some problem in the world using some magical powers. I always tell them that the Dalai Lama has no magical powers. If I did, I wouldn't feel pain in my legs or a sore throat. We're all the same as human beings, and we experience the same fears, the same hopes, the same uncertainties. From the Buddhist perspective, every sentient being is acquainted with suffering and the truths of sickness, old age, and death. But as human beings, we have the capacity to use our minds to conquer anger and panic and greed. In recent years, I've been stressing emotional disarmament to try to see things realistically and clearly without the confusion of fear or rage. If a problem has a solution, we must work to find it. If it does not, we need not waste time thinking about it. We Buddhists believe the entire world is interdependent. That's why I often speak about universal responsibility. The outbreak of this terrible coronavirus has shown that what happens to one person can soon affect every other being. But it also reminds us that a compassionate or constructive act, whether working in hospitals or just observing social distancing, has the potential to help many. Ever since news emerged about the coronavirus in Wuhan, I've been praying for my brothers and sisters in China and everywhere else. Now we can see that nobody is immune to this virus. We're all worried about loved ones and the future of both the global economy and our own individual homes. But prayer is not enough. This crisis shows that we must all take responsibility where we can. We must combine the courage doctors and nurses are showing with empirical science to begin to turn the situation around and protect our future from more such threats. In this time of great fear, it's important that we think of the long-term challenges and possibilities of the entire globe. Photographs of our world from space show clearly that there are no real boundaries on our blue planet. Therefore, all of us must take care of it and work to prevent climate change and other destructive forces. This pandemic serves as a warning that only by coming together with a coordinated global response will we meet the unprecedented magnitude of the challenges we face. We must also remember that nobody is free of suffering and extend our hands to others who lack homes, resources, or family to protect them. This crisis shows that we are not separate one from another, even when we're living apart. Therefore, we all have a responsibility to exercise compassion and help. As a Buddhist, I believe in the principle of impermanence. Eventually, this virus will pass, as I've seen wars and other terrible threats pass in my lifetime. And we will have the opportunity to rebuild our global community, as we've done many times before. I sincerely hope everyone can stay safe and calm. In this time of uncertainty, it's important that we do not lose hope and confidence in the constructive efforts that so many are making. And I just loved what the Dalai Lama said about the fact that even this virus is impermanent. Eventually, it will abate, it will change, things will be different. And I love the fact that he mentions the interconnectedness of everything, just as we're interconnected, even as we're trying to fight the coronavirus. As we talk about your body and your low back and your hamstrings on the mat today, I want to remind you that the pain you're feeling isn't pain you've always felt. And it won't last forever, especially if you can continue to do yoga and recognize the interconnectedness of the way you move, your posture, even the things you eat, and the way your mind thinks to help you overcome low back pain and tight hamstrings. You can do this. I hope you have a good class today. When it feels good for you, please go ahead and take a good seated position if you're not already sitting so. Inhale your hands together in front of your heart space. Exhale that. Just notice the flow of your breath, the interconnectedness of the air as it moves in and out through the lungs, the belly, the collarbones. And even though you can't feel it, the interconnectedness of the air as it feeds literally every cell in your body. Begin to breathe a little more fully and deeply. Allow yourself to take a longer exhale than inhale. This begins to calm the body and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. A couple more deep breaths in and out. We'll be using our pranayama practice, our breathing throughout the class today, because it's all connected. Using breathing and learning to use breathing as you move can help you create space that can help overcome tightness. If it feels good for you today, set an intention for your practice. Maybe an intention based on the concept of interconnectedness and impermanence. Press your palms together to seal that intention. And we'll begin our practice today with 3 ohms together to bring our energy in the room together. Even though we're apart, we're still connected. So take a deep breath in. Exhale that. Inhale in again. Exhale that. And after this next inhale, we'll ohm together 3 times. So take a deep inhale in. Om. Om. Close your eyes, tilt your chin. Let the residual waves of your breath, the sound of your voice, wash over your body. When you're ready, press your palms together, release your hands, open your eyes, bring your feet out in front of you, just wiggle them back and forth into windshield wiper pose. And then when you're ready, I'd like you to go ahead and come to a child's pose. But for this child's pose, I'd like you to have a blanket behind your backs of your knees. So for child's pose, you're going to take a blanket, you're going to slide it behind the knees. Good. You're going to take your big toes together, take your knees apart, take your sitting bones back towards your heels. You'll notice making space with the blanket gives a little more space for your knees, for your hips, for the ability to relax. Bring your torso forward on the mat. Cross one forearm in front of the other. Rest your forehead on top of your forearms and take a couple deep breaths in and out. Activating your pranayama breath just as we did at the beginning of class, taking a deeper and longer exhale than inhale. Do that a few times. And as you do so, release your jaw, release the skin on your face. Maybe tone your belly, bringing your belly button back towards your back spine. You may notice that creates a little more space for your lower back. One more deep breath. And then when it feels good for you, take extended child's pose, bringing your hands forward. Lift and spread your fingers, and then activate the base of the knuckles of all your fingers, especially the index finger and the thumb. Press them into the mat. Draw your fingertips back towards you. Lift your upper arms like you're hollowing out your armpits. Release your ear in between your upper arms. Your forehead may not come to the mat. That's okay. Take a couple deep breaths in and out. And then I'd like you to keep your hips where they are, but walk your hands to the right side of the mat, getting a stretch out of the left side body. Breathing in and out, using your breath to expand your rib cage and the low back. If you'd like to take that left palm on top of the right hand, get a deeper stretch out of that left side, that's okay. Allow yourself to do that. Make it feel good for you. If you're finding that left hip is becoming ungrounded, reseat it, root your hips down. Come on back to center. Find your extended child's pose again. Activating your thumb and your index finger like you're squeezing them towards one another. Take a couple deep breaths and then walk your hands around to the other side of your mat, to the left side, making sure your right hip stays rooted and grounded. Inhaling and exhaling. You can take that right palm on top of the left wrist if that feels good for you. Just get the deeper stretch out of the right side of the body. And then come on back to center into your extended child's pose. Breathe in and out. And please come to a table position. You can remove that blanket from behind your knees. You can actually place it underneath your knees. You have a nice cushion for your knees. If you find yourself rounding your spine, walk your hands forward a little bit more so you make plenty of space between your hands and your knees. And if you're still rounding your spine, especially the upper spine, maybe widen your hands as wide as your sticky mat, fingers wide, melt your heart space. Now, sometimes that allows you to collapse your belly, so tone your belly, lengthen your tailbone without tucking your pelvis. Just lengthen the tailbone, tuck your toes under in the back, look at your upper thighs, and make sure your toes disappear behind your upper thighs. And then as you breathe, begin to release your belly, lifting your collarbones and your tailbone towards the sky. And exhale, reverse the direction of the spine into cat pose. Take a few rounds of cat-cow at your own pace. Inhaling and exhaling, using the breath. It's all connected. Then when you're ready, please come back to neutral position of the spine for your table position. Slide the toes of your right foot back on the mat. Square off your hips. Good. Now you can lift that right leg. The foot is flexed, the knee is facing down, toe is facing down. The leg isn't higher than your hips. It's parallel to the floor. You can walk the fingertips of your left hand forward. Then you can take that left arm forward. So opposite arm, opposite leg. Breathe in and out. Then when it feels good for you, you're going to bring your knee and your elbow together, arching the spine. And then going all the way back out to that extended position. Do that a few times, bringing the knee and the elbow in and out and in and out, going at your own pace. Taking care to not bring that leg too high. When you're finished on that side, release the arm, release the leg. If you'd like to stretch that right wrist, you can turn the palm up. Gentle stretch of the forearm. Come back to your table position. Melt your heart space, tone your belly. Let's do the other side. Toes of the left foot back. Take your time. Square off your hips. Sometimes that hip likes to pop up, so you square it off. You tone your belly. Lift that left leg. Toes facing down. Knee is facing down. Walk the fingertips of the right hand forward. When it feels good for you, you can take that right palm forward. Thumb is facing up. Fingertips are wide. Reach, reach, reach to infinity. Tone the belly. And then when you're ready, you take the knee and the elbow together and you extend. Doing your sun dog. In doing this, you're starting to work the fascia that moves all throughout your body, through all the muscles. It's all connected. So we're just trying to start moving the fascia, the muscles, the limbs, connecting them. When you're finished with that, you can come back to your table position. You can turn that left palm up if it feels good for you. If it doesn't, don't do this. And when you're ready, plant the hands, untuck your toes, big toes together, knees apart. Send your hips back for child pose. Take your second favorite forearm on top. Rest your third eye on top of that forearm. Breathe in and out, especially sending breath to that low back, the lumbar spine. Now, what I'd like you to do from here is remove that blanket from underneath your knees, slide it to the side of your mat, and please come down to a prone position with your belly on the floor. Your feet are behind you about hip distance apart. You can bring your fingertips forward, come up on spider fingers. Breathe in and out. Maybe wiggle your hips back and forth. Release that low back. Good. Now, what I'd like you to do is activate your toenails on the mat. So press all 5 toenails on the mat. You're activating your whole leg, maybe lifting that upper thigh isometrically off the mat. So you're working that whole leg. Breathe, tone your belly, lengthen your tailbone. Keep that leg activation as you slide your hands back towards your hips, palms facing forward, shoulders up back, and broaden. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release down. Inhale, lift again. Exhale, release down. One more time. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Rest your forehead on top of your forearms. Breathing in and out. You can wiggle your hips back and forth again. Make it feel good for you. Working on your back strength. And you'll notice with Shalabhasana, as we move through Shalabhasana a second time, The important thing is to activate your legs. Tone the muscles on your legs. Press your toenails into the mat. Tone your belly so you can create a safe space for your low back. Slide your hands back towards your hips. You can interlace your hands this time behind your sacrum. Squeeze those elbows together. As you inhale, lift the heart space, keeping the feet on the mat. A little bit harder. Exhale, release. Forearms stacked. Breathe in and out. Let your breathing calm down. Take a deeper exhale than inhale. When you're ready, please bring your hands back behind your sacrum. Interlace your fingers your second favorite way. That means slide your fingers one finger over. Shoulders up, back, and broaden. Activate your toes in the mat, the upper thighs. Lift your torso. Breathe. Take the fingertips back. Now, if you'd like, you can lift those feet off the mat. Shalabhasana. Just working on upper back strength. And when you're ready, release down. Take your arms all the way forward. Wiggle your hips back and forth so you're fully prone. Breathe in and out. Excellent. Tuck your toes under the back. Slide your hands back towards your mid-chest, shoulders up, back, and broaden. Please come into table position. Walk your hands forward a little bit. Send your hips back toward your knees. Lift your knees a couple inches off the mat. Send your hips farther back towards the back of the room. Straighten your knees for downward facing dog. Resist moving your hands and feet. Keep your hands and feet where they are so you're in a long dog, creating length in the spine. Inhaling and exhaling. If it feels good to you, you can begin to walk your dog, first bending one knee, then the other. Working on your foot strength, your ankle mobility. And when you're ready, please come back to stillness. And you can wag the tail of your dog. Just wiggle your hips side to side. Breathing. You're doing great. Now come to stillness. Walk your hands back towards your feet. For Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Feet are parallel to one another, toes facing forward. Take your hands to your shins. Slightly bend your knees. Press your shins into your hands. Lengthen your spine for a pranam, long spine. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, fold. 2 more times. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen again, exhale, fold. Remain here for a moment. Micro bend your knees. Now, shift your hips forward. Isometrically lift your heels off the mat. Bend your knees. Good. Tone your belly. Heels are slightly lifted. Good. This takes your weight forward on your toes. Breathe in and out. Releasing your skull, the back of the neck. Release your heels down. Straighten those legs. Micro bend in the knees. Hands to the hip creases, shoulders up and back as you lift from the heart space. Coming to the Tadasana mountain pose. Now I want to talk for a little bit about mountain pose and your posture because it's all connected. One of the reasons that we have low back problems is oftentimes we're pressing our hips forward and our hip points forward and tucking so that we get a rounded spine and we lose the curve in our low back. Our head is thrusted forward. Not good posture. So what I'd like you to do is take your feet, make sure they're parallel to one another in a number 11 position. Yes, if you look down, they look like a number 11. Good. Take your fingertips to your hip points and shift your hips back just a little bit. Shift the lower part of those hip points back. Good. Now, without tucking your pelvis, lengthen the tailbone. There it is. It's not a tuck. It's not a push forward. Lengthen the tailbone. There it is. Tone your belly. Go long through the crown of the head. Take your shoulders up to your ears. Back towards the back of the room. Broaden them. Take your chin and draw it back. It's not military position. You should have an S curve in your low spine and in your neck. So you'll have an indent in your lower back and your neck. Your knees are not locked. Really important for posture and for working on low back pain that we work on our posture even when we're walking so that we don't start to slump, we don't start to walk with our torso forward. It's all connected. When you're ready, please come to the front of your mat. Grab a couple of blocks if you would. Have a blanket nearby. Come into Tadasana mountain pose, hands to your hip creases, shoulders up, back, and broaden. Tone the belly. Slightly lengthen the tip of the tailbone. Good. Now, I don't want you to bend at the waist. I want you to bend at your hip creases. Tendency is to shift your weight back into your heels, so shift your weight forward. You can even lift your heels a little bit. There you go. Come all the way down, put those heels down. Shift your weight forward. Take the right leg back towards the back of the room. Wiggle that leg back a little bit farther. You'll notice your left hip wants to pop up. Squeeze it into the midline. Put a blanket down for the knee and release that back knee down. For a lunge pose. Good, you're doing great. Pause here for a moment, just letting that hip flexor open up. Tone the belly. You're not tucking the pelvis. It's a neutral pelvis. Breathe in and out. Good. Inhale, lift the torso, hands to that upper thigh. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, scoop and lunge. Make sure that front knee is tracking towards the middle of that front foot and it doesn't come forward of the ankle. Good. Tone the belly, lengthen the tailbone. When you're ready, hinge forward. Draw those blocks back toward your hips, shoulders up, back, and broaden. Broaden your collarbones. You can slide that front foot forward to straighten the knee for a runner stretch, half Hanumasana. Good. Dorsiflex that front foot. Breathe in and out. Inhale, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen through the collarbones. You can stay here, or if you'd like to start bringing your torso forward in the direction of that front leg, resist rounding the spine. The collarbones are broad and open. You tone the belly. You're extending the spine as you hinge at the hip creases and you pause. When you're ready, bend that front knee. Bring the blocks forward. Lift that back knee off the mat. Switch sides. Front leg goes back, back leg comes forward. Wiggle the toes of that back foot back. Then release the knee down, toes tucked under in the back. Just bring that hip in line with the midline. So it's not popped out. There it is. Excellent. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, scoop and lunge. Making sure your knees tracking towards the center of the foot. Tone the belly, creating a safe space for your spine. It's all connected. Core strength, really important for low back. Resisting rounding the spine, really important for stretching those hamstrings. Excellent. Draw those blocks back towards the torso. Lift the torso. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, scoop and lunge. Breathing in and out. Letting that hip flexor open out. You're doing wonderfully. Good. Release your fingertips towards the blocks. Slide that front heel forward on the mat for half Hanumasana, half split pose. Yeah. Breathing in and out. Dorsiflexing that front foot. broadening the collarbones, the heart space, going long through the crown of the head. You can stay here. If you'd like to hinge forward, you're hinging at your hip creases. You're taking a long, long, long spine. It's like you're trying to reach the crown of your head towards infinity. Tilt your chin so you're not hyperextending your neck. Hyperextending the neck shortens the hamstrings. So you want to keep the back of the skull back of the neck long. Breathe in and out. Noticing those hamstrings talking to you. It's okay. And when you're ready, bend that front knee. Release the blocks. Plant your hands. Please step back into downward facing dog. Make it a long dog. Lots of space between your hands and your feet. Really grow long through the spine. Tone the belly, lengthen the tailbone. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Shift your hips forward so that they're over top of your ankles. Breathe in and out. Hands to the hip creases, root to rise. Please walk to the front of your mat. Shift your blanket aside. We'll come back to that in a moment. Coming into Tadasana Mountain Pose. We're going to repeat that sequence with the knee off the ground this time. We won't be doing half Hanumasana, we'll be doing pyramid pose. Have some blocks nearby at the front of your mat because we're going to be doing a revolved pyramid and opening our pyramid. When you're ready, coming into Tadasana Mountain Pose, inhale those arms overhead, collarbones wide. Exhale, hinge forward at the hip creases. Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Take 3 pranams. Long spine, shoulder blades coming together. Really working on extending the spine, toning the belly. Using the breathing. When you're ready, plant your hands on the blocks or on the floor. Step that right leg back into a right leg lunge. Square your left hip off. Yeah, squeeze everything in towards the midline. Take the slack out of that back leg. So there's no bent knees. Really reaching through that back leg. Breathing in and out. This time I'd actually like you to bend that back knee. Step the foot forward a little bit. Square off the hips again. This time we're going to move into pyramid pose. So inhale and press that front foot into the mat, straighten the knee, long spine. Exhale, bend it. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten again. Keep it straight this time. Good, excellent. Broaden those collarbones. Maybe walk the blocks back towards either side of that front ankle. Good. Keep your right hand on the block. Take your left hand to your hip crease. Right hand on the block, left hand to your hip crease. Squeeze your legs together. Good. Press that right hand into the block. Take your right chest wall towards the left side of the room. Open that left arm for pyramid, revolved pyramid pose. Breathing in and out. Coming back to center. Find your pyramid pose again. This time you're going to keep your left hand on the block. Press it into the block. Take your right hand to your open hip crease. Yeah, there it is. You'll notice you'll wobble. That's okay. Press that left hand into the block. Inhale, open your left chest wall towards the right side of the room. Squeeze those legs together. That right arm can come overhead for the counter twist. Beautiful. Come on back to center. Bend that front knee. Switch sides. Front leg goes back leg comes forward. Take a long lunge. The back knee is up. Take the slack out of the back leg. Lift that right hip high. Square the hip off toward the midline. Good. Lunging. making sure your knee is not extending forward of the ankle, making sure it's not collapsing in or out. It's working towards the center of that front foot. Take a couple deep breaths in and out. Collarbones wide. Bend that back knee, step the foot slightly forward as we move into pyramid pose. We press that front foot into the mat, straighten the knee, just rounding that upper spine. Exhale, bend it. A couple more times. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. This time as you straighten that front knee, keep it straight, micro bend in that knee. It's not locked. Now, press your hands into the block like you're isometrically dragging the block towards your hips. Open your collarbones, melt your heart space. For pyramid pose, tone your belly so you have a safe space for that low back. This time you're going to keep your left hand on the block, but activate that hand on the block so you're not dumping weight into the hand. Right hand comes to the hip crease. You can even take that thumb into the hip crease. So you square the hip off, shoulder up, back, and broaden. Hello. Left chest wall coming towards the right side of the mat. You can take that right arm up towards the ceiling for a revolved pyramid. Come on back to the center, switch sides. So this time the right hand stays on the block. The left hand comes to the hip point that's open. Good. Press the right hand into the block. Let that right chest wall open out towards the left side of the mat. The left arm comes along. For the counter twist, tone the belly. Come on back to center. Bend that knee. Release the blocks. Please step back into downward facing dog. A wide dog. Inhale into plank pose, the top of a push-up. Melt the heart space, tone the belly, lengthen the tailbone. Breathe in and out. Come back into dog. Inhale into plank pose. Exhale into dog. One more time, inhaling into plank pose. Exhale into dog. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Hands to the hip creases, shoulders up, back, and broaden, root to rise. Arms overhead, palms together in front of your heart space. Please walk to the front of your mat while you're on your way. Grab a hold of one of your blankets. I'd like you to take your blanket and roll it up. So you make a tight roll. How high is up to you? A little bit higher is going to open the calves a little bit more. A little bit lower will open them a little bit less. You're going to put the rolled up blanket on the front of your mat. Have your blocks in front of that blanket. And please come to a standing position. Behind the blanket, blocks on the other side. Excellent. We've done standing forward bend a few times now. This time I'd like you to step the right foot onto the rolled blanket. Sorry, I said opposition. Right foot on the rolled blanket. The heel is on the floor. The toes are on top of the blanket. Good. Now, if you can, please do the same thing with the left foot. Toes are on the blanket. Heel is on the floor. If this is too much for you, you can do this one leg at a time. Good. So you're in Tadasana with your toes lifted. Hands to the hip creases, shoulders up, back and broaden. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, hinge forward at the hip creases. Uttanasana variation. Shift your weight forward. You'll notice your calves are starting to open up. Be gentle. Your fingertips can be on the blocks. They can be on the floor. Spine is long, so I'm not interested in you taking your head toward your knees. I'm interested in a long, long, long spine. Isometrically widen your sitting bones. Press those toes into the mat. Isometrically bend the knees, opening up into Uttanasana. Tone your belly, breathing in and out. Let the head go. Long, long, long spine. When you're ready, hands to the hip creases, shoulders up, back, and broaden as you root to rise. You can step off of that blanket. You can move it out of the way. And I'd like you to take Uttanasana, standing forward bend again. And this time, let's see where you notice the difference. Inhaling the arms overhead, exhaling into mountain pose. Shifting your weight forward. You may notice you feel a little more open now. Maybe not. Breathe in and out. Your fingertips can be on the blocks. They can be on the floor. If you'd like, you can lift your toes and take your palms under your toes for Padmasana. For some people, that's not possible. It's okay. Breathe in and out. Let the body open up. Please come back to Tadasana Mountain Pose. Good. We're going to move through a series with a three-legged dog. We're going to move into half moon and revolved half moon. So let me show you the series. I want to make sure you understand it, and we'll move through it together. I'm going to move my blocks back a little bit so I have plenty of room in front of my mat. I'm going to come into Tadasana Mountain Pose. I'm going to hinge forward into Uttanasana. Take a couple pranams. Then I'm going to step back into downward facing dog. It's going to be a long dog. Lots of space between my hands and my feet. I'm going to shift my right leg to the center. Lift the left leg off the mat. It's parallel to the floor for a three-legged dog. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to let that open out. I'm going to switch sides. Left foot in the center of the mat. Right leg back. Reaching that right heel out towards the back of the room. Toes facing down, knees facing down for three-legged dog. Good. We're going to shift back. Right leg in the center, left leg back. We're going to bend the knee. Open out for fire hydrant. Sorry, I didn't tell you we were doing fire hydrant. Close off the leg. Come into your three-legged dog. Please come forward. Bring the knee in towards the chest, arching your spine. Release that knee in between the foot in between the hands. Fingertips to the blocks for lunge pose. Hello. There it is. Please walk your blocks forward. Bend that back knee. Lift the back leg off the mat. Leg is parallel to the floor. Whichever block is towards the baby toe side of your foot, press that hand into the block. Opposite hand towards the hip. You can open that left chest wall towards the front of the room. Activate the toes on that top leg. You can open that top arm for half moon. Excellent. Come on back down into your three-legged pose. Close the hips off. We're going to do revolved half moon. We already did it on the floor. So you're going to press the right hand into the block, left hand to the hip crease. Open that right chest wall. The left arm comes overhead. Revolved half moon. Release the hands down to the block. If you'd like, you can hinge forward and lift that leg for your standing splits. Then release that leg down in line with the front foot for Uttanasana. Hands to your hip creases, root to rise. How'd you do? Bring your palms together. Close your eyes. Find your center. Find your good posture. Neutral pelvis. You're not tucking those hips forward. Shoulders up, back, and broaden. Tone the belly. Allow your exhale to be longer than your inhale. Soften the skin on your face. Release your jaw. That's it. Please open your eyes. Inhale your arms overhead. Exhale, hinge forward into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold. Step back into your downward facing dog. The right foot comes to the center of the mat. Left foot reaches back for your three-legged dog. You're going to inhale that left knee in towards the chest. Reach, reach, reach out the spine. Now, like you're kicking a soccer ball forward. Bring that left foot forward into your lunge position. Find your blocks. Square off your hips. Activate that back leg. Take the slack out of it. Right hip high. Breathe in and out. Hinge on that back foot. Lift it off the mat. Walk the blocks forward. Oh, I did the same side. So sorry. I'm switching sides. I just did the same side again. Switching legs. Activate your right hand into the block, whichever hand is on the baby toe side of the foot. The opposite hand comes to your hip crease, shoulders up, back, and broaden. As you open the collarbones for half moon, you can keep that hand where it is or you can float it overhead. Gaze is up to you. Come on back to center. Square off those hips. Reach that back leg back towards the back of the room. Your left hand stays on the block. Right hand to your hip crease. Open that left chest wall. Release that top arm. Revolved half moon. Come on back to center. You can take your standing splits if you'd like. And then bring that top leg in to the space you've made next to the standing leg. Hands to the hip creases, root to rise. Arms overhead, palms together. And you breathe. Please come to a seated position on your mat. We're doing a couple of seated positions. For seated Janu Shirshasana, I'd like you to have a strap. So have a strap and maybe have two blankets nearby. If you notice when you're in your seated position that you round that lower spine, I'd like you to sit up on a blanket, a folded blanket, just as I showed you at the front of the class. So you're going to sit on that blanket and slide your front of your sitting bones off so the back of the sitting bones are lifted on the blanket. Good. Excellent. Take your right leg forward. Toes facing the ceiling, knees facing the ceiling. You're going to bend that left knee and take the sole of the left foot to the inner thigh. If that left knee pops up, I'd like you to take your other blanket underneath that knee or that thigh so you can ground down. So I'd like you to ground your sitting bones and that bent leg. Good. Take a hold of your strap. Put it around the big toe mound and little toe mound of your foot. It's not on your toes. It's on the toe mound. Good. Strap is in both hands. You're going to inhale and lengthen, broaden those collarbones. You're going to exhale and hinge forward, tone your belly. If you're collapsing your back of your skull, bring your chin down. Good. Now, the idea is not to take your head to your knee and round your spine. The idea is to extend your spine. So you're going to inhale, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Draw back on the straps. Start bending your elbows and hinge at your hip creases. So your back stays long the entire time. If you'd like, you can walk your fingers forward on the strap for Janu Shirshasana. Don't let your sitting bones come ungrounded. Really work through that bent knee. Everything stays grounded. Come on back to center. Switch sides. So that left foot is going into the strap. It's around the toe mounds. You're going to open that right sole of the foot towards the inner thigh. If your knee comes ungrounded here, as it does for some people, that's okay. You put a blanket underneath it. If you're having knee pain, you can actually put a rolled up sock behind your knee. That'll help open it up and make a little bit more space for you. Good. Ground your sitting bones. Inhale, both ends of the strap in either hand. Lift your collarbones. Shake your head back and forth. Tone your belly. There it is. Exhale, start hinging at your hip creases, bending your elbows. You can walk those hands towards your feet if you're open enough for that. If not, that's okay. Breathing in and out. And then please come back to center. In yogic philosophy, the back side of the body is often called the west side of the body. We're going to do Paschimottanasana with a little bit of a variation. So Paschimottanasana is a seated forward bend where the west side of your body, your back body, is exposed to the sky. For our Paschimottanasana, I'd like you to have your hips on your blanket, just as we did before. Have two blocks in front of your mat and put your heels on top of those blocks. So you're sitting with your backs of your hips lifted. Reach around, find that low back. Really make sure there's space in the low back. Now tone your belly. Go long through both sides body. Your knees are bent. Knees facing the ceiling, toes are facing the ceiling. You're going to take that same strap. Feet are wide. They come around the big toe mound, little toe mound of the foot. Inhale, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen through the collarbones, tone the belly. Exhale, hinge forward with the knees bent. Keep those knees bent. Breathe. Keep your torso where it is, but step on the gas pedal to straighten those knees. Paschimottanasana variation. Getting a good hamstring stretch here. Breathing in and out. You'll notice you're making space in the low back as well. If you're jutting your chin forward, please bring it back in line with your spine. Back of the skull is back of the neck has a natural curve, it's long. Breathe in and out. Please come back to center. Release that strap. Take your feet off the blocks, but take them as wide as your sticky mat. Knees and toes are still facing the ceiling. Fingertips behind you. Inhale, lift the collarbones and the heart space. Exhale, hinge forward for seated wide angle forward bend. You can bend those knees, really bend them. Flex the dorsiflex those toes, hinge forward a little bit more. Now press on the gas. There we go. Seated wide angle forward bend. Tone your belly, lengthen your tailbone. Come on back to center. Take that right leg into the center of the mat. Fingertips behind you, open your collarbones and your heart space, bend the left knee. Open your collarbones and your heart space. You can keep that left leg where it is, or if you'd like, you can walk the sole of the left foot to the outside of the right knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release your right hand, take it around that front knee for a twist. Breathing in and out. That front foot is working, it hasn't gone to sleep. Release that hand, counter twist, twist the other way. Good. Breathe in and out. Use your pranayama breathing. It's all connected. Come on back to center. Switch sides. So the left leg comes forward. Right knee is bent. Keep it open as you find your sunbather pose. You can keep that right foot where it is or cross it over to the other side of your left shin. Breathe in and out. Take the closed twist. Left hand goes around the right knee as you open up. Come on back to center. Take the counter twist. Going the other way. Release that. Please lay down on your mat. You can remove that blanket. Have your strap nearby. You can remove your blocks. Excellent. Slide your hips forward. You're laying down on the mat. Knees are bent. Soles of the feet are on the floor. This time I'd like you to take that strap, bend your right knee, and take the strap around the heel of that foot. Crisscross it behind your calf. Can you see what I'm doing? It's around the heel and it's crisscrossed behind the calf. Good. Excellent. Bend that right knee. Strap is in both hands. Draw that strap back towards your chest. Knee is coming in towards the chest. Slide your left foot forward on the mat. Now slide your right foot forward, straighten the knee till the back edge of that left thigh comes in contact with the floor. Good. There's a natural curve in your lower back. Keep that. You're not shifting your chin towards the ceiling, so shift your chin so it's parallel to parallel to your chest like you're holding a grapefruit. Press that heel into the strap and begin to lift your leg towards the ceiling. But if you start coming ungrounded on that left hip, press the leg forward again. This is just working the stretch of the hamstring. Toes active on both feet. Now, take both ends of the strap in your right hand. Take that right leg, release it out towards the right, but not down to the floor. For Supta Parangustasana. Good. You're getting a stretch out of the inner thigh. Come on back to center. Shift the strap into your left hand. Your elbow is grounded. Lift your right foot towards the ceiling. And now I'd like you to cross it just slightly over the left leg. It doesn't come all the way over. You're keeping both hips grounded. You'll feel a stretch in the outer edge of your leg, the IT band. Should feel good, especially for you runners. Then release that. Release the leg down. Switch sides. Both knees are bent. You're going to take the left knee in towards the body. The strap goes around the heel of the left foot. It crisscrosses behind your left calf. Good. Both knees are bent. Sole of the right foot's on the floor. Good. Now you're going to slide the right foot forward. Toes facing the ceiling. Knee is facing the ceiling. It's not lazy. Yeah, really work through that foot. Good. Slide the left foot forward, straighten the knee. Draw both ends of the strap wide so your elbows are on the ground, resting. Get that right upper thigh down on the mat. Tone your belly. Lengthen the tip of your tailbone. And then pressing your heel into the mat, you can begin to straighten that left leg. But as soon as you feel that right hip pop up, you got to bring the left leg forward again. Breathing in and out, working on lengthening your hamstrings. Relax your quads. Natural curve in your neck. Another deep breath. Both ends of the strap in your left hand. You can take the right palm down to the floor. Allow that left leg to open out towards the left side of the room for Supta Padangustasana. It does not come all the way to the floor. Come on back to center. Switch the ends of the strap in your right hand. Lift that left leg towards the ceiling a little bit more and cross it ever so slightly over that right hip point. For stretching the IT band, the outer leg. Breathing in and out. Release that. You can release the strap. You can bend both knees, take windshield wiper. You can remove that strap from your side. You won't need that again. Breathing in and out. Good. I'd like you to bend both knees, take them wide so they're reaching towards your armpits. Draw your knees in towards your chest, back of the skull is back, both shoulder blades on the floor, your hips are on the floor. Now keep your knees wide, but lift your feet towards the ceiling. Knees are still bent. You can grab around the backs of the knees if you'd like. When you're ready, take your hands and thread them up your inner thighs, the inside of your leg. When you get to your feet at the last minute, grab a hold of the outer edge of your feet for happy baby. You can wiggle back and forth if you'd like. Feels good on your sacrum, your low back. If you're open enough, you can straighten your knees, but the hips stay on the ground. So we're not lifting the hips off the ground. Back of the skull is back, back of the neck is long. Coming back to happy baby. Release those feet down to the floor. Take another windshield wiper. You're doing great. When you're ready, slide your right foot forward, bend your left knee, draw it in towards the chest. Take your right hand around the left knee. Left hand comes into a T position, and you can take that right knee and cross it over your body. Shoulder blades stay rooted on the ground. Your left hip will lift or stretch. Come on back to center. Switch sides. Left leg comes forward. The right knee is bent. You take your time as you come into the position. Your right hand slides parallel to your body on the floor. Left hand around that right knee. You take the twist. Shoulder blades both stay grounded. Use your breathing. Soften the skin on your face. It's all connected. Come on back to center. Release both feet. Both feet on the floor, knees are bent. Move your legs back and forth for windshield wiper. And then when you're ready, you can get yourself ready for Shavasana. I'd like you to take 3 Apanasanas. And while you're doing that, listen to me for Shavasana. If you have room in your house and you'd like to have your legs up the wall, you would slide your sitting bones towards the wall and take your legs up the wall and rest them for just a few moments. If you'd like, and you have a chair, you can rest the calves on a chair. That is particularly calming for the body and healing for the low back. Reverses the direction of lymph in your legs, so it's particularly good for sending blood flow in the opposite direction. So if you'd like, you can take that position. If that's not available to you, that's totally fine. You can bring your legs forward on the mat. Open your knees out. If you'd like to have a folded up blanket under your knees, if that feels better for your low back, please feel free to do that. I'll show you what that looks like. Just make a roll with the blanket. Put it under the knees. Lay on down. Shimmy your shoulder blades under your heart space. Broaden your collarbones. Back of the skull is back. Back of the neck is long. There's a natural curve in your low spine. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling. Slide them away from your hips. Now please close your eyes and enjoy your Shavasana. Soften the skin on your face. Release your jaw, your tongue. Release your torso, your belly. Soften your upper arms, forearms, your fingers, the middle of your palm. Soften your hips, your groins. Soften your upper thighs, front and back, your knees, your shins, your calves. Relax your ankles, your feet, your toes. Relax the centers of the soles of your feet. Now scan through your body. And if you notice tension anywhere, take a deep inhale in. Take a longer exhale than inhale. And ask that part of your body that's still tense to let go. Nothing is forever. Impermanence. Soften. Go. You can stay in Shavasana as long as you wish, and I recommend you do. It is very important to use Shavasana to allow your body to learn how to relax and let go in a non-stressful position so that you know what that feels like and you can build muscle memory so that when you're tense, you can invoke that muscle memory and learn how to remain calm in the face of stress. When you're ready, slowly, gently begin to bring energy back to your body, wiggling your fingers, your toes, your wrists, your ankles, maybe stretching your arms overhead, going slow, gently, not disturbing your calm. And bend your knees. Please roll to your side. Stay in your fetal position on your side body for a few moments. Draw your knees closer to your heart space. Use the strength of your hands to come back to a seated position. Sit well, crossing your second favorite shin in front this time. Using a blanket if you need to. Hips back and broaden, inner thighs in and down, fingertips next to your hips as you grow long through your side body, long through the crown of the head, torso, tall, lengthy. Broaden your collarbones, take your shoulders up to your ears, back towards the back of the room, broaden them. Bring your hands together in front of your heart space into prayer pose, Anjali Mudra. Tilt your chin, close your eyes or soften your gaze. The invitation this week is you take your yoga practice off your mat and out into the world. Just to notice the interconnectedness of your actions to everything out in the world. What you eat in the morning affects how you feel later in the day. What you eat in the morning affects the people that bring that food to your table, that labor for the food for your table. It's all connected. And it's fleeting. Just as good times don't last, neither will bad times. We'll weather this storm together. Namaste. Take a deep inhale in. Sigh that out. Inhale in again. Let that one go. Even your breath not lasting forever. Last inhale. Bringing the corners of your mouth up to the sky. Lift your chin, open your eyes. Namaste. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you for coming to yoga practice.